Welcome everybody. This is my Homeschool Planner 2024-2025 flip through video. If we haven't met before, my name is Elizabeth and I am a second generational homeschooler who is now homeschooling her own kids. I love to plan and get organized ahead of time for the school year, so here is the planner that I am using that I made for our homeschool. This is probably my favorite section. This makes me feel so prepared and not overwhelmed when I look ahead and I see everything laid out for when we're going to do school, when we're going to have class days, which is co-op, and when I am planning vacation days. I will share with you how I fill out the year at a glance, but the reason I do this is because it really helps me stay on track. I know how many days we need to do school, how many days we can actually use for a sick day because of this, and I can also figure out how many vacation days we're able to do. And then our attendance record is what actually happens. I try to make it match up to the year at a glance as much as possible. First, I will color in all of our class days or co-op days, as some call them. And then I will fill in all the days I know that we want to take off for vacation time. And then I will figure out what date I want to start school and when I want to end school by. And then I will count how many days in between are available for us to do our actual book work. I will add up each month. And then I will subtract how many days we need for our actual book work. Doing it that way tells me how many days I can take off for sick time if I want to start school at a certain time and end at a certain time and take a certain amount of vacation days off. If you saw that tiny print, it told me that I could take 18 days off. I don't know if that'll be enough or not, but we are really hoping to take the whole month of December off for my Christmas school. Once I am finished with that, I will color in all of the days that I have planned for our actual book work. So the year at a glance is the ideal. It is the goal. The attendance record is what actually happens. So my goal is just to hope and try and make it so the attendance record matches up as close as possible with the year at a glance. I will copy one and put one at each of my kids' desk. This really helps them know what's expected, what days we are doing school. It helps eliminate any arguments because they see that if we want to have vacation time, if we want to be done by a certain time of the year, we need to do school these days. So flipping the page, I have an area for me to write down what days I want to celebrate, what holidays, and actually it's very simple for me because everything I do at the seasonal homeschool usually includes any fun days or any holidays, so I just kind of write down the plan for each month, or in other words, the theme I have planned for each month. Now on the next page, the school rhythm, this is where I just lay out like what a perfect school day for us would look like. What kind of flow are we aiming for? What kind of routine? So I will break it down in the yellow there. You can see that this is our time that we do everything together, and then I split it up and show what each child is doing during independent time, who I'm helping. So for this first block here, you can see that my oldest is doing her math independently, my middle child is doing his penmanship, and then my youngest is doing math with mom. Managing the flow this way really helps make sure that with all three of my kids, like two of the kids are able to do something independently while I help the other one. Even though I'm a pretty experienced homeschooler, being that I was homeschooled all the way through myself, when it came to figuring out a routine and flow that worked for our family, it definitely took a few years for me to find something that actually worked really well for us. So please don't get frustrated, especially if you're a beginner homeschooler. Like, it might take some time for you to figure out what kind of flow works best for your family. But all you can do is just try and then pick what you like and what you don't like, and then just keep experimenting until you find the routine that works best for you and your kids. And then at the bottom here, I will write down the order of our class day that we will be doing. So I will write down which class and in what order each child will be taking those classes. And then at the very bottom is where I will write down any extracurricular stuff they are doing throughout the week. I forgot to mention the purpose of these little circles here. So I don't use this, but it was a request from a homeschool friend of mine. So what you can do is you can write out your ideal school rhythm, and then you can copy it each week and check off each block as you do it throughout the week. Or instead of using a new one each week, you could laminate it and then cross it off as you go, cross off each block. Now, like me, I don't use that. You don't have to. I just like to write out an ideal, like something so I can picture and visualize how our school rhythm is supposed to go. And then I have a field trip log, a read aloud log. This is different from like a reading tracker for the kids. I will just use that read aloud log for all of the books we listen to during lunchtime. And then I have a password log, a subscription log. It's obviously empty because I knew I was filming this and I didn't want to have my filled out version on here for YouTube to see. And then I have a section for each of my kids, and each section is the same. This first page here is a plan of study, and this is where I will write down what curriculum they are using for each subject. There is room for up to 10 subjects. 2 are left blank so that you can kind of pick what elective you are putting down there. And then I will write a brief description of that curriculum choice, just kind of explaining what topics they're going to be going over. And then I have these quarterly planners. So this is kind of my planner for the year. I don't go in and plan each week at a time. Instead, I do a quarter at a time. So I will look and break down all of the curriculum, and I will say, okay, week 1 here, we need to do lessons 1 through 4 for math. Week 2, we need to do lessons 5 through 8 for math. And this just kind of helps me briefly know what we need to do each week without planning out pages and pages and pages at a time, if that makes sense. I am still planning out a few things, so obviously you can see some blanks there, but I will only do a quarter at a time. So when it gets close to the end of quarter 1, I will plan out quarter 2. So here is a grade tracker. This is actually going to be my first year using a grade tracker for my kids, so just a simple one there. Again, you can track up to 10 subjects, and then there's a notes feedback section as well. This is my lesson tracker. This one is for science, as you can see. So for this, we are doing 9 units from The Good and the Beautiful this year. We are going to attempt to do that anyways. And I wrote down the lesson and in what order we're doing each one here, and we're just going to check them off as we go. My planner does include an option for a 180-day lesson tracker. This one here is 120 because that's what we do. And I also have one that has, it's not blank, it has it written out for like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, in case you don't want to write out each lesson. So what I love about this is that at the end of the year, I can take their entire section, I can take a copy of the attendance record all filled out, and I will also put like their reading tracker for the year, and I will staple it all together and put it away in their file folder for the year in their school box. This makes it so simple to keep a record of what they've done each year, and it makes it just very easy. All right, so now it's time to look over the calendar section. Before that, there are a few other things included in the PDF that I don't put into my planner. So here's the reading. There's like a reading tracker. There's this day at a glance if you want something to print out every day just to write down your to-dos, what you want to do each hour. There is a habit tracker, a 31-day habit tracker for you or your kids. And then there's also a reading tracker to keep track of all the books that they have read. They will write down the author and then they will color in anywhere from 1 to 5 stars. I also have these blank versions. So if you want to put in like your own curriculum choices, your own subject choices, I should say, you're able to do that. So here's the calendar layout for the month. I tried to make it kind of big. There is a little to-do section there off to the side. There is a monthly reflection area for you to write down what went well that month. And then there is a week at a glance. You'll notice that the boxes for the week at a glance are kind of small, but that is just so that you can write down like appointment times, things that are out of the norm. Like that's what I use it for. And then there is a top priorities section, a library books needed section, a school supplies needed, and then a to-do checklist, and then a looking ahead for any other kind of notes you want to write down. All right, so this is the weekly lesson planner. This is where you can plan out up to 10 subjects per day of the school week. There are 2 blank sections at the end there. I do include a template that does not have any subjects written in, so you could actually customize up to 10 subjects by handwriting it in. At the very end of my PDF, I did add an updated version of the week at a glance. One of the homeschool moms in my Facebook group requested a week at a glance that is broken down by time slots. So that is what this is, and it is located at the very back of my planner PDF. So you can use this instead if you kind of like to block off things based on time. Something important to note is that I do not plan out my lessons using this. So what I do is I actually record what has actually been done. So if you remember, if I go back to the quarterly planner, I can see what I need to do each week. So then what I use this for is to just write down what we have actually done. So basically just a simple way to keep a record of what is going on. And, I'm lucky I live in Michigan. We don't have any requirements to do that, but I just kind of want to stay prepared in case that changes. Hopefully it doesn't. But also just for my own sake, I do feel better if I have a record of what has happened, what has gone on. And there is a weekly reflections page as well, just like how there's a monthly one. And then depending on the size of your binder, I really do like this binder that I got from Amazon, but it is a 1-inch. So it made it kind of difficult to put the whole year in all at once, which is it's actually kind of fine with me. I don't mind printing out half of the year at a time. I actually kind of prefer it. So that is why you see that it only goes through January. Once I am finished with that, I will put in the second semester. And that is my homeschool planner. I hope that this was helpful, that it maybe gave you some ideas of how to plan for the year. It does not have to be like this crazy, dramatic, kind of overwhelming sort of thing that you do at the beginning of the year. Just whatever works for you and whatever makes you feel, as prepared as possible and not in an overwhelming way. So this is what works for me, and if any of you want to try out some of these planner printables, if you want the planner PDF, I'll put the link for it below.